Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. I have Sam's gun.
What the fuck?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are talking about, of course, the Taurus PT92, or at least the Springer variant. And I have this on here mostly just because I wanted to be goofy and kind of show off the Fiachi laser's ability to be able to hold things. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this real quick. There we go. Now with the pistol baron, we'll talk about the pistol itself. So the PT92 is basically just the poor man's version of a Beretta 92, even going as far as to take the same kind of magazines. However, Taurus has a bit of a reputation, and one that is, well, they got a saying, I'd rather have a high point than a Taurus. Now, before I continue, understand, I have nothing against the Taurus Firearms Corporation. In fact, I do enjoy a few of their handguns. I actually do enjoy a few of their firearms in general. I think they're fun range toys. Do I think they're legitimately good for a self-defense situation? I could not tell you. I'm not going to try and put my voice to that opinion, but all I'll say is that I have no opinion on the Taurus Firearms Corporation, and please don't sue me. Now, the replica I'm actually talking about, again, is the PT92, except it's in tan, and this goes for about $24. Now, this is the metal slide variant versus the polymer slide variant. Now, there is a big difference between the two, considering that the polymer and metal change prices. All polymer slide PT92s go for about $18. The metal slide, depending on if you get the dark earth, which is about $24, or the all black, which is $25. So if you went with dark earth here, you're basically getting $1 off, or depending on if you get it on sale, then you're probably going to get it for the same price tag as a polymer slide variant. Now, the box this does come in is actually the same kind of box you'd get the gas blowback and non-blowback in, or at least from what I've researched and found on Google. The box is actually relatively nice. I do love, of course, the just gaudy 90s, early 2000s style advertising here. Just, again, I'm impressed by the fact they use the same box they do for the gas blowbacks and the non-blowbacks, because that saves them money, and all they gotta do is just change up all the information here. This can stay, this can stay. But all they gotta do is just remove the spring-powered airsoft and be like, gas blowback, non-blowback, whatever. The back of the box is the same as the front, but again, opening up the box, like I said, is basically just the same if you were getting the gas blowback. Even going as far as to have the same instruction manual within the same place, which, I gotta say this about the instruction manual for Cybergun, and yes, this is technically Cybergun, I kind of like that they sealed it in there, but it's basically just a folded up pamphlet. That's it. Not really anything worth mentioning as a whole. It's really not that impressive. And in my mind, I wish they could have given us something a little more detailed, maybe something a little more substantial that isn't flimsy or feels like a brochure, but, you know, it's just one of those things. So instead, let's just talk about the gun itself.
Well, we're waiting.
So the replica here is actually, once again, based off of the non-blowback frame. What I mean by the non-blowback frame, I mean, look at this. You essentially have a non-blowback safety. Don't believe me? Here's a Black Ops non-blowback. See what I mean? So yeah, non-blowback safety aside, this is actually something that's kind of cool about this particular model, is that you can remove this. Before in the past with the polymer variants, which again I'm actually kind of cool about, is that before you'd have to actually remove this right here, actually fully push this out in order to actually fully remove the upper. Now, instead of doing that, all you have to do is remove these two screws here and you can completely remove the upper here, and again, it's kind of cool that you can do that. The other thing though is that, again, while I'm not completely opposed to the safety. It would have been so hard to actually have the slide lock safety like other KWCs. And yes, technically speaking, this is a KWC replica. This isn't exactly made by Cybergun themselves. This is KWC. Same thing with the Beretta M9s. It's, again, one of those things. But the magazine itself holds about 12 BBs. While not being accurate to the actual PT92, which uses standard Beretta magazines, or at least Beretta pattern magazines, it's, again, one of those things. You got a single Picatinny slot here, but like I showed earlier, if you have a laser that has actual pick rails on it, or you go with one of those interesting kits that wrap around it to make it look like a futuristic handgun, then you could have more rails. But then again, this is not really meant for serious play. Or is it? The iron sights themselves are bog standard. There is no, of course, whites anywhere, which means that you'd have to paint the front sight here with a single white stripe. Be careful, because if you paint the rest of this, you're going to have to basically just paint the entire thing. But again, the engraving is not that great. The PT92AF, I wish I knew what they were talking about with that, but the Taurus logo itself is actually starting to, well, wipe away. It's not it is semi laser engraved, meaning that yes, technically speaking, it's there, but even me just wiping this like this is already wiping off the paint. Not that impressive, I'll admit. Okay, so it's spring powered. How do you load the magazine here? Well, it's actually quite ingenious. Instead of usual stuff where it doesn't lock into place, this KWC does lock into place in that little notch right there, and then you just hold this right here, load in your BBs, and then you just, like that. Spring's a little weak, but, you know, all that. You load up, pull back there, because actually racking it back here is somewhat difficult, and then you just fire. Again, a bit stiff on the prime, but that could be because of the spring underneath to help it return. So, it's one of those times where we're going to have to just go ahead, put it at a pistol range, and see if this thing actually is worth all that money. Now, I will have the laser on here to kind of help show where I'm aiming, because I've lined the laser up with the iron sights. So, wherever I'm aiming with the laser on the paper is where I'm aiming with the irons. So, let's go ahead and get you guys set up and, yeah, see what the FPS on this sucker is and the groupings we're getting out of it. Alright, so we have, of course, the PT92 Springer, load up .2s. The .2s I'm using are some Bulldog Bio .2 BBs. If you want me to use other types of BBs, consider donating to the PayPal down below. So let's go ahead, get this thing chronoed, and see if we're getting the exact FPS that is being set on the box. Because on the box itself, it says we're supposed to be getting 230 FPS with .2 BBs. Again, that's coming from Cybergun, so that should be interesting to, of course, disprove. But, again, using .2 BBs, we shall be seeing if we are indeed getting 230 FPS. So, with the safety off, let's go ahead and give her a fire. 190. That's the first shot. We're just going to do 6 shots and then unload the rest into the target. 225. This is shot number 3. 223. Shot number 4. 223. Shot number 5. 224. And shot number 6. 192. So that has some extreme fluctuations in FPS, but the constant we saw there was about the 220s. So we did not get the 230s, of course, with the .2 claim of Cybergun. We did at least see the around near that. But I'm more curious of whether or not this, with the Cybergun patented BAXS system, BAXS, which is a fixed hop-up system that makes them claim to have very good accuracy, whether or not this actually has a good grouping. So, throwing a laser on here, we're going to see what this looks like on the paper. So, let's go ahead and get back about 30 feet or so, which is about pistol engagement distance you might be hitting at, or about 20, 25 feet, you know, within that range, and see what we're getting at in terms of, well, groupings, shall we? Okay guys, so actually trying to use the laser with the camera, I just realized the camera on my phone will not focus. So instead we are just going to have you guys zoomed in on the target, and I'm just going to shoot at it as best as humanly possible. So yeah, this is going to be one of those guessing games. Huh? I understand some. I'm aiming dead center of the paper, and I am holding as steady as humanly possible. And that's it. Let's get the paper and see what the results are. The results are interesting to say the least. The results being this. We have one outlier here, but the 6 here are in this nice palm-sized grouping. But in terms of the size of the target, this is more or less a torso-sized target. And again, that's actually not bad if you're just aiming for the torso. If you were aiming for the head, well, yeah. But in all seriousness, though, I am actually pretty impressed that those are the results we actually got from this. A fixed hop-up at about 30 or so feet with these kinds of results. Not bad. Not gonna lie, not bad. So, let me just put that in the garbage can. Colby! Did not even make it. So with the results we have, and of course the FPS, and again, everything else in between, the question comes down to, is it worth the price tag? Is it worth it as even just a backup sidearm in case your main sidearm goes down, or for just plinking? The answer to at least one of those questions is yes. The answer to at least the other question is it's not bad for the price tag. The other answer, though, is iffy to say the least, because to anyone who actually does, of course, rock springers as backups, then yes, they are definitely good for in case your gas gun goes down. You can have this, of course, primed, ready to go. I'm not going to cock it. You can have it primed, ready to go, safety off, and if your gas gun goes down, you can immediately pull this out and fire and take out the guy who is coming at you. Again, this is mostly for people who want to have a nice little bit of a game day. You know, you're not going out to a milsim or anything. You're just going out to have a little fun. The other thing, though, is that, again, this is one of those things of, this is probably someone's first sidearm. And as a first sidearm, it's not that bad. Now, I'm not, of course, doing the distance test because, again, I'm more or less wanting to kind of experiment for 2023. If you guys want me to do distance tests, then, again, sound off in the comments section. I'd love to hear you. And, again, this is not a bad pistol. But, in terms of a final verdict, what does the Taurus PT92 Springer get on the scoreboard? The final score for this is no more, no less than a 8 out of 10. It's a good buy at $24. It's definitely good as a first sidearm. It's definitely good for someone who wants to train their kids on a Taurus, but they don't want to actually use their real steel pistol, and they don't want to spend the money on a gas blowback, but they want something that they can just use for like plinking or target shooting. Then this is definitely worth that price tag. The other thing, though, is that the reason it gets an 8 and not a 9 or even a 10 is because it's definitely not worth the 10 out of 10. It's definitely not worth the 9 out of 10. It's an 8 out of 10 gun because, again, that safety, while yes, I am okay with it, would have been really hard to do a thumb safety. Would it really have been that hard? I mean, we already see that KWC on your 1911s. You could have done that with this, but I get it. You're using, of course, essentially your 9mm frames, and you're wanting to just keep the same thing. You know, I get that, but at the same time, though, it's, I don't know. I just don't know. The other thing is that magazines are going to be your biggest issue if you actually want to use this. The only other thing is that I just don't like the backs system. It doesn't give you consistency. While yes, it does of course stay somewhat accurate, it is definitely not consistent past a certain footage, and we do see that with the backs system guns. I'm not saying it's a bad system, I'm saying it's not a good system either, so it's mediocre at best. And the only other reason you'd want to get this, the only other reason this thing is getting an 8 at all, or at least a high enough score, is simply because of supernatural fame. This is Sam Winchester's sidearm in the Supernatural show. So that's the only reason it's getting that high of a score anyway. So, you can blame Supernatural for the reason it got an 8 instead of, like, say, a 6 or a 5. Either way, though. Thank you all so very much for watching. As always, I've been AirsoftAL. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the Taurus PT92 Springer, and whether or not you believe it should deserve that score simply because of the Supernatural fame, or because you yourselves are Supernatural fans, or for cosplay purposes. The only other thing, ladies and gentlemen, I have to say is that consider donating to the PayPal. It's folks like you that actually made this review possible, because this gun was actually able to be got via the PayPal donation we got, of course, from our many PayPal supporters. It is you guys who actually make it possible to do these reviews and do the content we do here on the channel, and it's even possible because to have the background I have here now. And if you want to help support future reviews or even sponsor a review, again, consider donating to the PayPal down below. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been AirsoftAL, and again, Sam Winchester's gun. Just saying, for all you cosplayers out there. Till next time.
Looking for that perfect game for your gaming console? Video Game Corner is the largest independently owned video gaming store in North Mississippi, located at 1519 Highway 72 in Corinth. We are an authorized limited-run retail store and have a massive collection of retro games and game systems, and also plush toys and collectibles. We also pay top dollar for your used video games. Check them out Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit Video Game Corner in Corinth.